We are the women of Serve to Perform.
We, as women, are very powerful when we are together.
We are the women of Serve to Perform.
As women, we can do anything. It is the same thing that I teach my daughter.
We are the women of Serve to Perform.
I think women's empowerment is the freedom to just be yourself.
We are the women of Serve to Perform.
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 Welcome back to the Serve to Perform podcast. I am your host, Delaney Osborne, and today we're joined virtually with Miss Marsha David. Thank you for joining us, Marsha.
Thanks, Delaney.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about women's empowerment and what that directly means for Marsha. So, Marsha, what comes to mind when you hear women empowerment?
So there's so many things, but the thing for me personally is really about education, because education lifts everybody up.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about why that's exactly where your mind goes to when it comes to women's empowerment.
So growing up, I grew up in the Bronx.
Okay.
I grew up in the projects. It was government cheese. It was, people didn't really have a way out.
Yeah.
My father had a college education, but my mother did not. And she was very clear that having an education was going to be the only way that I was going to get out and have a better life.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school, which was, unheard of in my family. And it's really served me well for my entire life.
Yeah. And having that example, right, of your parents probably honing in and driving education in your mind and in your childhood, and then as you're growing up, was probably a huge factor, if I'm thinking right.
Absolutely. And I'm naturally curious, and I love to learn, and I just love to learn. Yeah. And so it makes a lot of sense as I look back over my career. I've taken on all kinds of projects that people thought I could not do or would not do. So, for example, I've been the director of engineering, and I have a liberal arts degree. My philosophy is that as long as you have a strong mind, you can apply it to anything.
Yeah, which is so true, and that's so important for women of all ages, of all backgrounds, of all ethnicities to know, and not just know, but believe.
Exactly.
And to truly say, like, hey, this is who I am. I can do what I want to do. And I can be a director of engineering, even though I don't have a degree in it, just like you did.
Exactly. And it's also, I think it's empowering because it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
I've taken what my education meant to me and then passed that on to my daughter, who is now taking her education, and she's even working for a nonprofit that specializes in education. So she is continuing to pay it forward.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how cool it is with Carol for her to have a daughter. How awesome is it for you to be able to say, the lessons I learned, I'm now being able to pass down to my children?
I can't describe it. I mean, I was talking to her earlier today, and she was giving me advice.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's empowerment in and of itself, just to be able to have, we talk about the ant culture and the crab culture. And I think that as women come together in more of an ant-like way, it would really lift everyone.
Yeah. So explain that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
So it has been my experience that women can be adversarial, have their own agendas, and not necessarily work together as a community.
Yeah.
And so with the ant culture, the ants actually help to support each other. And so that's what I mean by that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And for you to be able to say, yeah, my daughter is basically doing that with me now is probably the most awesome feeling ever. To be able to sit here and say, wow, my kid is teaching me lessons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's definitely my go-to when I have any kind of technology questions or just anything. But it is really amazing.
Yeah, that's so awesome. What would you say was the most important lesson you learned when you were at that Ivy League school, coming from the Bronx, coming from your childhood that you had gone through and been through, and then being at that Ivy League school and going, wow?
Never give up.
Yeah.
And never give in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just, anything that I put my mind to, I will do.
Yeah.
And education taught me that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Marsha, that is genuinely, couldn't have said it better, first off, for especially younger women and younger girls to know and believe, right? We live in a society that is basically very male-driven, but women are on the rise. Women are on the come up, and to be able to look at the Michelle Obamas and to be able to look at the Kamala Harrises and say, we could be them, right? And we could be them if we wanted to.
When I was growing up, which was the 60s, there were no role models, and the ceiling just seemed so low. Having women that look like me, that are educated and, well-versed is just so inspirational. And I think also for women, you can access education in a number of ways today that I did not have access to. So there are all of these different online educational sites, or, just taking your phone out and Googling something to learn gives you that extra knowledge.
For sure. What advice would you give someone who may have gone through the things that you've gone through growing up and maybe at an Ivy League school? Or what advice did you maybe give your daughter that you would love to pass along to other people?
Be true to yourself. Be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
And, there's so much, body shaming and female shaming and mommy shaming and all of those different things. Well, no two people are the same. So just be proud of who you are, because whoever you are a strong, confident woman.
I love that. And that brings up a great point that I've heard probably a million times throughout my lifetime, because my mother and my grandmother are all about breaking barriers. And my grandma would tell me all the time, you can do exactly what you want to do. There's nobody that can tell you otherwise. Exactly. And what I would always hear was, you are the person who sets your limits.
That's right.
Are the one who tells yourself what you can and can't do. It's only you as a woman to go break those limits, break those barriers, meet those goals, and be able to look back and say, wow, I did that.
That's exactly right.
Do you have anything else you want to add or anything you want to touch on that we haven't touched on so far?
No, I love that we are, really talking to women, by women of all different types of not gender, but age and tenure and experience. And it's so, I know I keep saying the word uplifting, but it really is powerful to be with women who really own it.
Yes, agreed completely. Marsha, you are so inspiring, and you're fiery and you're passionate, and it spreads to everybody around you. And we're so grateful and so thankful for your time to be able to give us a little bit of insight about who you are and why you are the way that you are today.
Well, thank you so much, Delaney. I love talking to you.
Thank you. We're going to have you on when you get back from Mexico in a person to real podcast. And we're going to talk about all things education and how important it is to be educated in especially today's time.
Exactly. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Next time on the Serve to Perform podcast.
And I remember, Delaney, my mother always would tell me that I was born with drive and determination. And I was always seeking out new experiences, new adventures, never afraid to try things new, always wanting to learn and create. And I enjoy challenges and the feelings kind of accomplishing those things.